Behind me is the Bank of England, and Mervyn King is to step down as its governor after 10 years in charge. Logically, the government is now looking for a successor. Professor Goodhart used to be an MPC member at the bank and is the perfect person to discuss the future of the role. You've obviously got experience of working in the Bank of England on the MPC. We know that Mervyn King's stepping down next year, so he's been in charge for 10 years. One of the criticisms of Mervyn King is that he's too academic, the same criticisms often put to Ben Bernanke. Do you think that the Chancellor will appoint a similar person to Mervyn King, or do you think he'll look towards the city more?
I don't know. The job of being Governor of the Bank of England is extraordinarily demanding, and is going to become more demanding because the Bank of England has now been given more powers in the macroprudential financial stability side. So you've not only got to understand the ins and outs of monetary policy and macroeconomics, you've got to understand the ins and outs of how the financial system works, and you've got to try and ensure that the financial system remains stable and efficiently capable of helping both the British economy and indeed the world. And you've got to manage a huge organisation, and you've got to fly here, there and everywhere to all these various meetings. It's an extraordinarily demanding job. I'm not sure that if I was asked to write to the next governor, my letter wouldn't start, "I'm so sorry for you."
But you described all the responsibilities that the governor has. It's described as the most powerful non-elected role in the UK. Isn't there a case for distributing his powers amongst other people rather than concentrating it just on one person?
Again, the requirements of the future governor are going to be so great, so manifold, that I think that a future governor would also need to be a good delegator, and will need to rely, depending on his own or her own particular strengths in the various fields, on his or her deputies and the departmental heads. And you cannot do everything yourself. You simply can't. You just blow up, you'll blow a gasket, and you wouldn't last more than 3 or 4 months if you try to take all the decisions and take everything on your own head. And you have to delegate in a job of that particular kind. And it's somebody, and again, this is a very, very difficult exercise to do well. In order to simply to be able to exist, to go on living, you have to delegate quite large parts of the sort of issues. Yet you're ultimately responsible, and you have to be able to know just how far you can delegate to certain people and to others. The exercise is a fairly supremely difficult exercise to do, and it's not surprising if people don't do it absolutely perfectly.
The advert doesn't rule out the possibility of recruiting someone from outside the UK. Do you think it's justifiable for a foreigner to hold such a powerful role in the UK?
If it was a foreigner who spoke perfect English, who had been in the UK for a long time, at some stage or other in their life, for example, had been to university here, and was well known in the UK, I certainly wouldn't rule it out. I think it would, and it's an enormous advantage to know the society, culture and political system in which you're operating. And for somebody who doesn't, it would be a fairly considerable handicap.
Do you think it actually makes a big difference who's going to be the next governor? Because isn't it unlikely that they're going to put someone into place who has radical ideas? Isn't it going to be very much carrying on the same legacy as Mervyn King?
I think that you're wrong in that. I think it would be enormously important who is the next governor, because the role of the bank is changing. I know that the Financial Policy Committee, or FPC, has been running and set up in a shadow form, but there is a considerable difference between actually taking decisions which you have statutory backing in order to do that, and sort of play acting the role. And the new role, sort of encompassing all the financial stability side in much greater depth than before, together with the monetary policy side, is going to make the structure, governance and management of the Bank of England different in the next governor than it has been in the past few governors. So I think that it does matter a great deal, because it will set the it will set the background, it will set the framework within which the bank is likely to operate for some considerable time.
Just to finish off, you've obviously worked at the Bank of England. Do you have any inkling or ideas of who might be the next governor?
No, none at all. It's in the really at the command of the Chancellor of the Exchequer in conjunction with the Prime Minister. I am not close to either of those gentlemen. I have no idea who they might choose. I'm glad to say that I'm far too old to be considered for the job, or even to think of doing the job myself. And I'm jolly glad. I wouldn't want to do it. It is going to be an incredibly demanding job. And as I said, I think at the outset, my feeling for whoever takes the job will actually be one of a certain sympathy.